So welcome everyone to this Vital Sites event hosted by IUCN WCPA as part of its new platform, Vital Sites, in the run-up to the IUCN World Conservation Congress to be held in Marseille, France this September. This event is brought to you by URSA, the Universal Ranger Support Alliance, a first of its kind alliance working to further the interests of rangers around the world. In this event, we'll be discussing a new deal for rangers, reforms, recognition, and representation. We're just waiting for all of our attendees to tune in and dial in from around the world. And in about a minute or so, I'll then pass you on to the chair of the IUCN World Commission on Protected Areas, Dr. Cathy McKinnon, for her opening remarks. Please note that this event is trilingual with simultaneous interpretation. So on your Zoom panel, you can choose under the interpretation box between the English, Spanish, and French channels. With that, you can access the audio feed for the language of your choice. So I think everyone has joined. So with that, I'd like to pass you over to Dr. Cathy McKinnon. Cathy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm Cathy McKinnon. I'm the chair of the IUCN World Commission on Protected Areas, WCPA, a global volunteer network for protected area professionals. To be effective in delivering biodiversity conservation, protected and conserved areas need to be well managed and well governed. Rangers are at the very heart of that work. Men and women, government staff, community members, indigenous peoples, private landowners, NGO workers, and volunteers. Dedicated conservation practitioners covering a multitude of skills and duties. They work in all kinds of protected and conserved areas, from national parks to community conservancies, indigenous reserves, and private protected areas. They protect key wildlife and important natural habitats. They work with communities to support conservation-based livelihoods and to address human-wildlife conflict. They collect scientific data, and they serve as educators and communicators, introducing visitors, young people, and the broader public to the wonders of nature. In many national parks and protected areas, these are the staff with whom local communities and visitors will most interact. Rangers play a critical role in conserving wild places and the biodiversity and ecosystem services they provide. Without these environmental defenders, we would see more deforestation, more biodiversity loss, and more degradation of ecosystems. Responsible rangers also help to safeguard the rights of people whose lives and cultures are inseparable from nature. Rangers are the unsung heroes of conservation, but their efforts are key to halting and reversing biodiversity loss. As we scale up ambitions for conservation post-2020, with targets of at least 30% of the planet protected by 2030, we will need to recruit more rangers and expand their skills and training, to professionalize the ranger force, to improve standards for employment and welfare, and to enhance working practices and codes of conduct to build trust and support from local communities, and to promote responsibility and accountability. The Universal Ranger Support Alliance, URSA, is a global coalition to support rangers by enabling better training and advocating for stronger support, safety, and equality for rangers, as well as for greater recognition of the critical value of their work. WCPA is happy to be a partner in this new alliance, with organizations such as the International Ranger Federation, World Wildlife Fund, Rewild, and others. Investing in rangers and the important work they do is a critical investment in nature conservation and protecting our planet. As chair of WCPA, I'm delighted to support the launch of this URSA action plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for introduction to the URSA and our work. My name is Olga Biegus, and I'm a URSA program manager. Before we delve into the details of action plan that we're launching today, I'd like to invite everyone to a short quiz about rangers and rangers' work. We'll present you with a few poll questions that you will need to choose the answer that you think is correct. But first, let's warm up. Can I have a first question, please?
Yes, just a sec.
Which is the most viewed YouTube video of all times? And you can cast your answers now. Okay, thank you. Do we have the results?
We'll give 15 more seconds so that everyone can submit.
Okay.
So ending in 5 seconds. So if anyone hasn't voted yet, please do. Great, and I'll now share the results.
Well, 29%, no, sorry, 36% of you were correct. It's Baby Shark Dance that you can actually watch on YouTube. All right.
It was a tie.
There was a tie, indeed. Can I have a second question? Just a test question.
Okay.
All right, this one is a little bit more nature related. What is the biggest living organism on the planet? All right, do we have answers?
So almost everyone has voted, just 15 more seconds so that we can get as inclusive a sample as possible. So 10 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
All right. Well, I would have chosen blue whale as well, and that was the first time I've chosen it. Actually, it is the honey mushroom. So the largest living organism is a single gigantic specimen of honey mushroom discovered in Oregon, USA, which occupies a total area of 965 hectares. That's a lot of football pitches. Okay, so now when we are ready to actually answer some questions about rangers, let's do the real poll. Okay, can I have the first question? What is the average number of hours that a ranger works on a weekly basis? All right. How are the answers shaping?
Almost everyone has voted. Just give everyone 15 more seconds. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Well, again, unfortunately, the answer is D, between 71 and 80%. You can read more about it in the global overview of the 2019 Life on the Frontline report that surveyed over 7,000 rangers across 28 countries. The exact number is 72.3 hours a week. Okay, can I have a next question? What percentage of rangers purchase their own working boots? All right, how are we doing?
10 seconds left. Almost everyone has voted. All right, so just here we go.
Correct. It's exactly 61.9% according to the Life on the Frontline report that surveyed rangers bought their own shoes. Furthermore, over 43% bought their own uniforms. Next question, please. At least 40% of rangers have received first aid and emergency training. True or false? All right. How is this one going?
Good. 97 people have voted. 10 seconds to go.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Correct. Unfortunately, only 24.4% rangers had their first aid and emergency training within the last 12 months. That's recorded in a 2019 Life on the Frontline report. It might have changed. All right, and last two questions. Women comprise approximately what % of the ranger workforce? That one might be tricky. How are we doing?
86 people have voted so far. 20 seconds left. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Indeed, you answered correctly. The newest report commissioned by URSA, titled Towards Gender Equality, that will be available on our website later this month, found out that any known or best estimate proportion of rangers who are women is between 3 and 11%. And the last question. What percent of rangers are proud of their work? Let's see how this one will go. Okay. Do we have all the answers?
Yes, so here we go.
Indeed, correct. Almost 100% of rangers is proud of the work they did, and we should be too. So this is the end of the quiz. Now I would like to invite you to our first speaker, Chris Galliers, President of International Ranger Federation, who will explain in more details the numbers that we just presented. Chris, over to you.
And before we continue, just a little announcement. If you have any questions for any of our panelists and speakers, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. Yeah, just sharing my presentation. Hopefully that's come through. Thanks very much. So this is really a great opportunity and the sort of culmination of a lot of work that's been conducted by many people. So my role today is just, which leads into how we actually got here today. In terms of URSA and the launch of the action plan. In terms of the International Ranger Federation, it was started in 1992 on the 31st of July. And hence, as a result of that, that is why we celebrate World Ranger Day on the 31st of July. So it is really fortuitous or well planned that we are launching URSA and the action plan in Ranger Month. And this is really an important document and for the International Ranger Federation, a very important month as well. And I'll provide some more information there. In terms of the mission of the Ranger Federation, it is to develop and advance and promote throughout the world community the ranger profession and its critical role in the conservation of natural and cultural resources. Unfortunately, at the moment, it is largely a volunteer organization. We do have some permanent capacity, and we are looking to increase that capacity as well. Just a brief sort of insight into the structure of the IRF. We've got a sort of a global level at the moment. We've got an IRF board. The IRF is a registered organization, and we have 7 regions. And in those regions, we have heads of those regions who are on the IRF board. They represent those regions. Underneath that, we have regional partners and organizations as well. And that includes for Africa, for example, the Game Ranger Association of Africa. In Asia, the Ranger Federation of Asia. And Europe, we've got the European Ranger Federation. North America and Central America, there's the Latin American Ranger Federation that is in development. And then we've got CORA, which is covering the Oceania region. And then underneath that, we've got national and subnational level partners and organizations. So we've also got ranger associations covering those levels as well. In terms of the membership, we've got 4 tiers of membership: full members, provisional members, associate members, and honorary members. And at the moment, we are sitting with 145 members and representing 65 different countries in IRF. One of the flagship sort of deliverables really is in terms of IRF is the IRF World Ranger Congresses. We have held 9 Ranger Congresses since 1995. They are usually between 3 to 4 years apart and have been spread out in various parts of the world, as you can see by the list there, with the last one being held in Asia, which was in Nepal, Chitwan National Park. As I mentioned earlier, the 31st of July is World Ranger Day, and that is coming up soon. We also maintain a global database together with the Thingri 9 Foundation of rangers who have fallen in the line of duty, and that will be coming out soon. This is a very important document, not for a number of reasons. One of them is to give recognition to those rangers that have given their life to conservation. But importantly, it allows us to better understand the real issues and challenges facing rangers, and then trying to find solutions to address those situations where rangers are losing their lives. One of the things, the big questions though, has been, well, what is a ranger? And when we look at valuing a ranger, we need to understand what a ranger is. It's quite a challenge when you start trying to define a ranger, because we have managed to do that recently in the development of the code of conduct. And in terms of the ranger around the world, there are many different terms used which all encompass the spectrum of work undertaken by a ranger. In terms of the value of rangers, Kathy mentioned many of them, and this really just sort of breaks it down into looking at the interdependencies of the natural capital, human social capital, and then on top of that is the economic system. And rangers obviously are focused heavily on supporting the natural capital component on which the human and social capital is dependent. So rangers are involved in managing natural capital assets, securing ecosystem services, and then also contributing to the social capital. There's also, obviously in terms of the current situation with regards to COVID, looking to mitigate the spillover of zoonotic diseases has become more sort of in focus. There's lots of jobs that are created, not just in terms of ranger jobs themselves, but also very importantly in terms of the secondary industries that are spin-offs from the work that rangers do in the protected and conserved areas that they look after. So obviously one would be looking at tourism. The rangers are also a large knowledge repository, a practical knowledge repository. So it's very important to understand that they do carry with them a lot of knowledge which is is sort of earned in the field. And it's important that we as the IRF look to manage that knowledge repository to ensure that we develop the next generation of rangers, and that information and experience and knowledge is passed through to them. In terms of the rangers are essential on-the-ground planetary health professionals and represent a critical sector that is undervalued, as Kathy mentioned. They are also undercapacitated and also not well supported. This is something that when we look forward, rangers are obviously responsible for the safeguarding of nature and the cultural historical heritage and protecting the rights and well-being of the present and future generations. Looking forward after the pandemic, we've got a lot of global goals that are being set, lots of global programs being developed and looking to be implemented. For example, the Global One Health approach is a critical one, and we're looking to see how can we set aside 30% of the terrestrial and marine component by 2030. So to achieve that, obviously, it's going to take a huge effort, particularly in terms of rangers who are on the front line. And what is that going to look like? We know that we already, as rangers, are undercapacitated. How do we build that capacity? And then there's a number of other programs as well in terms of the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, where rangers are going to be critical to ensure that these programs are not only implemented, but implemented and get the desired results at the end of the day. So to do that, we need well-supported rangers with the requisite capacity and skills who are adequately equipped and also motivated at the same time. But unfortunately, rangers face a number of challenges in the field, and just taking some of the points that are from the Life on the Front Line report that was developed in 2019, which had huge contribution from rangers themselves across 28 different countries. We're still sitting in a situation where rangers don't have, 50% of them don't have access to clean water. 50% do not have access to sufficient and adequate equipment. And 80% don't have access to the first aid, as was part of the quiz there. And 45% do not have access to medical insurance. Furthermore, in terms of looking back over the past 10 years, we can see some trends from the data that we captured in the Roll of Honor report. And the total number of global ranger deaths is definitely on the rise, as you can see with that trend line. And this year, in terms of the actual numbers, is going to be on the same trajectory. It looks like it's a little bit lower. It's the only reason for that is that we've included 11 months data because we've changed the recording timelines for going forward. So it's only 11 months of data, but the trend is showing that it is increasing. And the same with some of the other ranger deaths. For example, wildlife-related ranger deaths. The trend is also that is increasing. And we need to look at this in terms of research. And is this because we are seeing increased human-wildlife conflict, the reduction of space for wildlife, and that's why we are getting these ranger deaths. And so this is very important data, but it's showing that the severe threats to rangers out in the field. So taking all of these threats, and then at the World Ranger Congress in Nepal, where there was over 550 rangers from 70 countries, it was the largest ranger gathering that's been held. And that Congress came out with the Chitwan Declaration, which identified many of the challenges and really set objectives and solutions, what we need to strive to do to try and reduce the threats to rangers and improve the ranger force globally. And out of that Chitwan Declaration was really about setting up partnerships, and that's where URSA came together. And through that process, Chris Gordon will talk to you about the process and the development of the URSA Action Plan. But it's been a lot of hard work by a lot of like-minded organizations coming together really around the support of rangers, because certainly as IREF, we understand that there's no way that IREF in its own capacity can address all these issues. It's going to take a global effort from a number of different organizations, multi-sectoral organizations, to really build up the ranger profession to where we need it to be as a planet. So over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. I think before I jump in, I think Lena's going to share a couple of videos that have recently been prepared by Rewild and URSA and various other partners to really kind of highlight the role of rangers and their importance globally. So thanks, Lena.
Picture a wildlife ranger. It's likely no two people will imagine the same thing, as there is no one definition or job description of a ranger. Their profession is little understood, yet these brave conservation professionals are the backbone of global biodiversity management and protection, making them indispensable to the very essence of life on Earth. They are called wildlife wardens, forest guards, scouts, and watchers. They come from small villages and big cities. Rangers are diverse in ethnicity and gender. They work in government positions and private roles. They are indigenous peoples and multicultural guardians. They are found in urban parks, local communities, and remote areas, protecting our lands, freshwater ecosystems, and oceans. Rangers are vital to communities, countries, and our future, protecting our planet and ensuring that every person has access to wild spaces and global resources. Given their essential roles in preserving biodiversity through the protection of valuable life support systems and ecosystem services, the ranger sector should be well-staffed and rangers well-respected and acknowledged. More than 7,000 rangers from 465 sites across 28 countries have shared their successes, their challenges, and they've told the world what they need. They need your support for more resources. If we work together to remove obstacles and dismantle inequities, to ensure that natural resources are adequately protected for those that depend on them, we will greatly improve the overall impact of rangers. Our world needs them, and they need allies and advocates. We must prioritize and value rangers so they receive the honor and recognition they deserve. Support rangers, support our planet, and join the global Rangers Deserve More movement.
Thank you all. I'm going to pull up episode number 5 of this 5-part series. All episodes are available on Rewild's YouTube channel, so please do check it out. Bear with me while I load this up.
Firefighters, teachers, police officers, first responders, all are professions worthy of support and honor. We invest in them for our collective health and safety. Rangers are tasked with the same duties, and they're responsible for safeguarding the systems upon which our entire planet depends. We need to invest in rangers like we do other frontline professionals. The Universal Ranger Support Alliance is bringing together an international coalition of conservation organizations to advocate for a global ranger action plan. It will help all rangers, ensuring that urgently needed tools, reforms, and policy changes reach them. Invest in rangers to protect natural resources, to help grow sustainable national economies, to strengthen communities, to ensure equality and equity in the ranger sector, and to secure the health of our planet. If we invest in rangers, the economic outcomes would be dramatic. the global GDP could rise by 490 billion per year. In 2018, the travel and tourism sector supported 319 million jobs, 10% of total employment, and generated 10.4% of global GDP. Rangers directly support tourism, protecting habitats, teaching park visitors, monitoring species, and responding to emergencies in remote areas. Rangers protect the places that give us clean air, water, food, fertile soil, medicines, and a stable climate. The ranger profession needs to be recognized by the International Labor Organization as an occupation. Rangers are working together to facilitate sufficient training, social safeguards, appropriate equipment, and a guarantee that their teams will have adequate staff to do their work safely and effectively. Professionalize and support rangers, and the return on investment will be high. It now falls on governments, other ranger employers, and their partners to answer the call. Join the global Rangers Deserve More movement.
Thanks so much, Lena, for sharing those videos. I mean, really inspiring messaging, and I think they've just been so well collated. As Lena mentioned, those videos are available on the Rewild YouTube channel. They're also up on the URSA website. So, please feel free to go and see the other videos that have been prepared. There are 5 in total. Just by way of introduction, for those who don't know me, my name is Chris Gordon. I represent Force for Nature, and I also work as the chair of the URSA steering committee. So I've just been asked to really give a short presentation about the action plan that we're launching today. The action plan is available on the website under the resources section, so please go and download it. It's been translated into a number of languages already, and there'll be more languages put up online as they are translated. So as Chris Scalia's mentioned, the last World Ranger Congress in 2019, the Rangers came together and put together this Chitwan Declaration. And as part of that, one of their requests was for greater support for the Ranger workforce. And this really prompted the 8 founding members of URSA to come together and form the Universal Ranger Support Alliance. The 8 organizations are aiming really to help implement the Chitwan Declaration and enhance recognition. Chris eloquently sort of outlined that the role that Rangers play, the diverse role and the critical role that they will play moving forward in helping us to achieve the various global goals. And ultimately, URSA aims to develop the capability National Ranger Federation and the Regional and National Ranger Association so that all rangers globally are effectively represented. But in order to do that, URSA needed to have an action plan to work against. And so the founding members came together and through an iterative process over the last sort of 12 months developed the action plan that we're launching today. And really the action plan aims to support the direct requests that came from the Ranger group that were at the Chitwan Declaration, and has really sort of tried to address some of the critical needs that were outlined by the Rangers themselves. And the action plan has set itself a vision, a network of well-supported, professionally competent, mandated, motivated, responsible, and representative rangers working effectively as custodians of biodiversity and the life systems upon which we all depend. And the goal is that by 2025, there is a global enabling environment providing a unified voice for rangers and standards for capacity, employment, equality and conduct that build a demonstrably professional, accountable and competent ranger workforce whose contributions are formally recognized and respected. In order to achieve this vision and this goal, it's an ambitious vision. Obviously, the 8 founding members of URSA are really calling upon support from other organizations to join this call, and hopefully collectively we can achieve far more as a group than we can individually, and we can help to support the ranger workforce and support the representative associations of rangers, so that we can address some of these critical needs that rangers have identified. And the action plan has set out 5 main themes to do this. And the first is really around advocacy and representation, and this recognition that many rangers globally remain unrepresented and unrecognized. And we need to do something about that. We need to support the ranger associations globally. We need to strengthen them and support the growth of global, regional and national ranger associations. We need to raise awareness for rangers globally, and things like the video we just saw, are a fantastic media to really kind of enhance the voices of rangers and get that out into the global psyche, and allow people to understand the importance of rangers and how closely related they are to all of these global goals that we're working to achieve, and that biodiversity, climate change, etc. Some of these hot topics that have come increasingly onto the global agenda. We also need to promote and support rangers and increase the recognition of rangers. The International Labour Organization doesn't recognize the ranger profession. A number of national governments globally don't recognize the ranger profession. We need to work collectively to address that. So the first theme of the action plan brings together a number of actions to achieve that. And URSA will be working through the partners and the working groups that are specifically tasked with addressing these actions. And we encourage organizations at both a global, regional and national level to join us and come and support each of these actions. The second theme of the action plan is around capacity, and we understand that ranger work is varied and it often requires multiple skill sets, and rangers in different regions and countries have very different roles. And so we need to support the growth of those rangers and ensure that they have the adequate competencies to deliver on their roles. And yet over half of rangers that were surveyed in the Life on the Frontline survey felt that they're inadequately trained for their job. So the action plan sets out a number of activities to address this, setting performance standards, developing a competencies framework for rangers, and understanding whether we can meet the needs and develop the competencies for the ranger sector, but also target the ranger employers themselves and ensure that they have the capacity to ensure that we have an effective ranger workforce. The third part of the action plan looks at employment and welfare. A large proportion of rangers face threats to their physical and mental health and safety, limiting their ability and motivation. Rangers are entitled to have a safe, healthy, well-being and have their labor and human rights safeguarded. And URSA strongly believe that we should be working to support all rangers to have those conditions in place. Through the action plan, we're aiming to establish global minimum standards of welfare and employment, and work with the various associations and national level ranger employers, whether that's at a government level, whether it's private protected areas, whether it's community and indigenous peoples groups, so that rangers have those standards and that their rights are safeguarded. The fourth part of the action plan really looks at equality and equity in the ranger sector. All rangers, regardless of ethnic or social origin, race, gender identity, ability, sexual orientation or beliefs, deserve equal opportunities and fair working conditions in an environment where they're human and their labor rights are safeguarded. And that's hugely important that we address some of the past inequalities that the ranger sector have faced. You know, we heard in the quiz earlier about the percentage of female rangers on the ranger workforce globally, but obviously equality goes beyond just gender, and we need to work to address that. And so the action plan sets out the actions to develop policies and promote the use of those policies at national levels with it through the ranger associations, through national ranger employers, etc., and ensure that rangers are treated fairly and have those equitable working environments. And finally, the action plan looks at community relations and ranger conduct and accountability. It's critical that rangers are able to build trust with and to protect the well-being and rights of those who depend on natural and cultural resources that they are protecting. And so URSA, through the action plan, is setting out to support the ranger workforce to build trust with communities. We've already developed a code of conduct, and we're currently developing guidelines for using that code of conduct, but also developing policy frameworks around safeguarding mechanisms and supporting the implementation of these types of resources that are being developed, and really working to address some of those historic issues around trust that have been there in some situations. So please download the action plan, read it, get inspired by it, come and join us. I think Linda later is going to give a bit more detail on that. But you know, there's a huge amount of work to be done. I think at a high level, URSA can play a hugely important role in supporting the ranger workforce and enabling ranger employers and the rangers themselves to be able to do their jobs to the best of their abilities. So thank you very much. I will pass over to Monica, who I think is going to lead the panel session.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning to you all. I'm Monica Alvarez from IRF. I'm the development officer, and I have the honor today to facilitate our panel discussion with great panelists. We have 4 panelists, rangers from different regions and contexts in the world that we're going to have very interesting issues to address. So our first panelist is Kathy Dreyer. Kathy started her conservation career over 20 years ago with sand parks in South Africa, where she worked conducting wildlife captures and translocations throughout South Africa and Africa over 10 years. Since May, she has the position of head ranger at Kruger National Park. Kathy was awarded the Tusk Award for Conservation in Africa in 2016, presented by Sir David Attenborough, and was the first female ranger to win it. Congratulations, Kathy. So Kathy, following URSA's goals to develop global minimum standards for rangers' employment, welfare, and to improve ranger capacity in 5 years' time, what could you tell us about the ground challenges for rangers as head of one of the most iconic national parks in the world? How does your ranger team face these challenges in a day-to-day basis? Could you share with us some of that experience?
Yes, thank you, Monica, and thanks so much for everybody for having me. It's really exciting to be part of the launch of this action plan, and just listening to everything that everyone has presented. The action plan really speaks directly to the challenges that we are having on the ground. And so it really is a true representation of what we need to address and what are the biggest challenges that we need to assist rangers with. As you mentioned, I'm very fortunate to be the head ranger of Kruger National Park. And as some people will know, Kruger National Park, the biggest challenge is probably the size of the park. It's a vast area of approximately 2 million hectares in size. So the park is essentially the size of Israel. On average, it is 380 kilometers from north to south, so just over 230 miles. And 60 kilometers from east to west, with a boundary of 1,000 kilometers, which is about 630 miles. So it really is a big area. It stretches across various countries. So it borders Mozambique on the east and Zimbabwe on the north. And we currently have just under 400 field rangers that daily patrol this area. We obviously struggle with a lot of vacancies, but our field rangers do the absolute best with the number that they are to cover this vast area. And the biggest challenge probably currently in Kruger, which a lot of people will know about, is the rhino poaching. So as hard as we have tried and as hard as the field rangers have been working, we definitely have seen a reduction in poaching, but we still lost 245 rhino last year to poaching. And I think to every Kruger rhino, to every Kruger ranger, like you were saying in your poll, how many rangers are proud of what they do, every single rhino, they take it really personal. So losing 245 rhino is not easy for the rangers. And I think how everybody is feeling after 10 years of fighting rhino poaching, probably the biggest impact has been on the morale of our field rangers. They are tired. A lot of them struggle with burnout. There's a lot of trust issues because we know that a lot of our rangers, sadly, because of the salaries that they are paid, because of budget cuts, that they are very susceptible to corruption from the rhino syndicates, which offer them large rewards to give out information. So that has really impacted just on the team morale within the rangers. Being a ranger is all about working as a team and working together to achieve goals. So that's been really hard for the guys. I think like all of us, we are all suffering from the effects of a global pandemic. So we have reduced budgets. So we're trying to do the very best we can with limited resources at the moment. But we are very fortunate that there are lots of people that still support us and support our rangers. And then when you talk to the rangers, one of the biggest challenges that they feel they have is that we're not always supported by our legal systems. So poachers continuously get out on bail and we keep catching repeat offenders all the time. And that again just really affects the morale of the field rangers. But there is a lot of positive things that we can speak about. What I also really like about the URSA action plan is that it just does highlight that we need to invest in our rangers. It's a really incredibly special group of people. And so we have looked at ways in which we can do this, and a lot of it has to do with incentives. So rewarding field rangers for the special skills that they have and helping them to develop that skills. We are trying to put a lot of our energy into career progression and succession planning. So using the older field rangers, which have spent their lives in Kruger and are close to retirement, to teach the younger guys, to pass on those skills so that those skills don't become lost. Chris also mentioned training and constant retraining. It's been very hard in Kruger because every single day field rangers are going out to fight various forms of wildlife crime, that there isn't almost time for training. But it's such an important thing because we have heard that half of the rangers say that they aren't adequately trained for their job. So we need to find a way to constantly retrain rangers and to just develop those skills. And more importantly, to pass on the skills from the older rangers that have really grown up here onto the younger guys. So although we have lots of challenges, the action plan really speaks to what we are trying to address. So we're really excited to be part of it and really excited to hear that people are taking a ranger's profession seriously. Thanks, Monica.
No, Kathy, thanks to you. And thank you also for sharing the positives that sometimes we miss that are very important. And yeah, we're excited that the URSA action plan really, as you said, addresses the needs from raising by the rangers. So thank you so much for sharing with us your perspective from that huge and challenging national park in Kruger in South Africa.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to our second panelist, which is Atul Likwar. Atul is working for tiger conservation in Central Indian Landscape. He has served as the General Secretary for Forest Rangers Association, Mahasatra, hope that said that right, and now working member of Mahasatra Forest Officers Association. He has been awarded the Sanctuary Asia Award in 2016, and Earth Hero awarded by Royal Bank in Scotland in 2017. So Atul, as presented, one of the main objectives of URSA is to increasingly and formally recognize the ranger profession by governments and internationally. So maybe from your experience and perspective as a ranger, and now as a manager as well, how do you think are the biggest challenges for governments to support effectively today the rangers? And could you share with us some of these challenges and maybe some solutions as well, and positives from the perspective in India or in your national park?
Yeah, thank you. As we discussed earlier also, and in report also, we have seen that most of the rangers feel that they are adequately trained. So I think here in India also, we can say that training programs, I think even curriculum is also made in so years back, and we are following the same pattern. And the challenges are being changed every year and year. So we have to change the training patterns and curriculums also. And here India says that training is costlier, but not to train is more costly. So I think everyone should know that if you don't train the rangers, then it will be harmful for rangers also, and even for the animals also. So I think we should more focus on training part, advanced training part. Then the tools and resources are the major concern for in the challenges. As we have so many tools or advanced trainings, we have drones, we have something, but all these are available at some part only, not for the all rangers. So we must focus that all the tools and resources are equally distributed to each and every part as per the necessity. So tools and resources are also one of the major part, and they are lacking in, I think, most of the part. As in India, we have around 20% of area is under forest. But being most of the one of the most populous states nation, we have a million of rangers. I think we must have 1 million rangers, but most of them are on temporary basis. 80% are staff on hired on temporary as a protection labor or hired on contract basis. We must say that the forest area, most of the number of rangers are depend on the forest area. But as being the changes are here and everywhere involved, sensitivity of forest area should be the criteria for allotting rangers, because tiger can roam around jungle also, in village area, in city area, and in jungle also. So the forest area should not be the only criteria for fixing the tiger number of forest rangers. The sensitivity of forest should be treated as a criteria for allotting a number of rangers. So the increase in population, infrastructural development, and so on, the challenges are also being changed. That wildlife trafficking is now one of the most strict. So we have to train accordingly, and we can say that the education part is also important for tackling all these issues, because this is not limited to one of the state or one of the nation. It's wildlife trafficking is an international issue, and we have to deal, or we have to tackle with all these challenges. Increasing man-animal conflict. In India, we have so many cases of man-animal conflict, crop predations, and human death, human injuries, tiger, leopard. We have so many predators which actually have most of the conflicts. Even sloth bear have most of the things. These things happen because dependency on forest. I think around 250 million population is depend on forest. So their resource utilization also brings the forest man-animal conflict. So death of tiger, revenge killings, revenge poaching is also there. So tackling the community, as I think rangers have sandwich between community expectations and government policies. So these things should be managed policy levelly, and this thing. So this is one of the biggest challenge, because assaults on rangers in India, if we check the list of deaths of ranger in last 3-4 years, we can have more ranger deaths in India. Most of the assaults are in wildlife things, handling the man-animal conflict, or encouragement removal, or sort of kind of things. So we should think on the assaults and community relations, as we have, I think we have, this is on our report also. And as I said earlier, that we are 1 million rangers in India, but I think only 20 to 30% are covered under insurance. as other are temporary protection labors. So we are under threat, always under threat, but not covered under insurance by government agencies. We have to do it on our own, and we are trying to implement some other schemes and everything. Permanent employees are covered for insurance, but not the temporary ones, that which are 80% of the staff. So these are the one of the biggest challenges. We can say that psychological health, which should be under consideration for each ranger, because we are working in remote area, inaccessible area. We are leaving our family behind somewhere and working for 24 hours. As we have, I think, just have a question about that. How many hours rangers works on weekly basis? So 81 hours maybe changes for 40 to 120 or more than that. But we are leaving our family somewhere else and we are working in a jungle. So psychological health should be monitored, and we should work on that, because these are also one of the challenges. I think we have solutions for that also. If we think on solutions, then we can have, I think, we have parity in pay, but not parity in work profile. So if one of the ranger or one thing can work in city area or somewhere else, and if one ranger working in a tiger reserve or somewhere, so we have parity in pay, but not in work profile. So we should have incentives, not in kind of financial or something, but we should be incentivized for as per the work profile. So this should be one of the, because it will bring the sense of achievement. If we are doing something more better and that, but if we are not getting sense of achievement for our work, then I think it will create one of the barrier in working profile. So we should have a human resource management plan. We think about everything, habitat management, we should talk about protection management and all these kind of things, but we should focus on human resource management also, because all these things which are doing anything. So we, as we always say, the ranger deserve more. So ranger deserving the resource management. We should count a ranger as a resource. If we train him, if we better equip him, then he can do, he can perform very well. So his performance will be depend on our investment. As there is one statement in, I think, your video, if we invest more on rangers, then we will have more GDP. So I think the government agency should focus on investing rangers in all these aspects. Anti-poaching camps. I think most of the anti-poaching camps have only basic facilities. Yeah, we shouldn't demand that we should have bungalow or some kind of thing, but anti-poaching camps should be with all basic facilities, amenities they have, because the rangers are staying there for a week, for quarterly, or that kind of. So basic facilities should be there with anti-poaching camps. Safety issues are there. I think if they are better equipped or some kind of thing, then they may feel safety in jungles, because from snake to tiger, everyone, there are dangers. Yeah, of course, they are not attacking for each and every minute, but the safety issue is always a concern for a ranger to be in there. So this safety is in terms of numbers also. If we are 4 or 5 in a group, the safety already get in our mind that, yeah, we should be, we are safe because we are 4 or 5. If things something happen, we can do it. Or if I'm better equipped, then also I can have safe concern about myself that, yeah, I am better equipped and I can face the challenges. As I earlier told about psychological health. So if we have some psychological health monitoring and anything, we have, we can say, the physical health monitoring and everything. If we focus on psychological health, it will be better for the rangers. And the financial incentives also should be there. Effort-based financial incentives, if rangers get in all over the world, I think this may be the major concern, because this is the most glorified work but least paid work. Ranger are always glorified but not paid well. So we should be
sorry, I'm so sorry. We have to go to the next question, but I really feel it's difficult because you're saying such important things that we're going to come back to you afterwards so you can continue, but you're raising important issues of human health and psychology and safety of rangers that usually they're not taking as scarce as they should be. So thank you for raising these issues. And you also mentioned the creative roles and all the different roles a ranger plays, you know, wildlife conflict, all you mentioned about the relationship with the communities, how important it is, and the dependency of the forest from the community. So it's a very challenging, and as you mentioned, Atul, and thank you, how to address these issues is not easy and it's complex, and you have to work with the community.
Yeah.
So with that brings us to the next panelist, that she's gonna cover more about community relations. And before, I just wanna tell the audience that Filomena, our next panelist, she speaks Spanish. So for a moment, I'm going to translate, when she speaks, I'm going to translate it in English in this channel. So just have us a little patience of what we're doing now. And now I'm going to present her. So our third panelist is Filomena Estrada Tovar. She's from Las Nubes, an indigenous community in the Lacandona tropical rainforest region in southern Mexico. 15 years ago, Filomena promoted the creation of a community reserve of 1,800 hectares to address intense deforestation in the region, and managed to have it recognized as community protected area by the federal government in 2009. Today, she's proudly a female community ranger in the National Commission of Protected Areas of Mexico. Filomena, URSA highlights gender equity and building trust with communities as priorities for the next 5 years. Could you share with us what challenges do you face as community female ranger, and what achievements have you accomplished? How do you see your role as a ranger in your community?
Gracias, Mónica. Pues los retos como mujer guardaparque ha sido estar en una sociedad machista. Es uno de mis retos. Y también en la parte de trabajo, he estado en ocasiones en incendios forestales tratando de sofocar esa parte para salvar la selva. Pero a veces me he sentido triste de la impotencia de no poder salvar tanta vida que hay en la selva. Tantos animales y todo eso se consume con el fuego.
Okay. Muchas gracias, Filomena. I'm just going to translate that in English so we go to the next part. She first mentioning the challenges, and she mentions two big challenges. She said it's difficult to be a female ranger as the only female ranger in her teamwork with a macho culture in general. So that's been very challenging for her. But she also mentions other challenges, as the frustration that she lives when there are fires out of control in the rainforest, and she sees the burning of the vegetation and the wildlife, and the frustration that she cannot stop the fires. Gracias, Filo.
También hemos tenido amenazas de invasores y cazadores.
She's also experienced threats of invasions and poachers in dangerous situations.
Así es. Uno de mis logros ha sido formar parte en la creación de un área de conservación en mi ejido.
One of her biggest achievements, and she's proud of it, is that she has been leading the process of creating a community protected area in her ejido, that it's the communal land in, how we say, a typical communal land in Mexico, appropriate unity.
También ha sido uno de mis logros poder ser parte de frenar una empresa hidroeléctrica también en mi comunidad.
She also feels proud of another achievement that has to be to lead the process with support of her community to stop hydroelectric dam development, a very big development, and they were able to stop it as community with her leadership.
También uno de mis logros ha sido estar fomentando sobre especies nativas. Sabemos que si nosotros empezamos a promover esta parte de siembra de especies nativas, podemos sanar los ecosistemas.
She also feels that another achievement is that she's been creating awareness in her community of the importance of native species, and regarding how, for example, planting a native species is a way of conserving the importance of the ecosystem for the future.
Y el rol en mi comunidad ha sido, bueno, yo crecí en una área donde había mucha vegetación. Yo crecí prácticamente en la selva, alejada de toda la tecnología, y eso me llevó a querer y amar a la naturaleza. Y por ello, ahorita estoy en lucha por conservarla. Y pues estamos ahí trabajando para conservar nuestras selvas. Y
okay, she's mentioning she grew up away from from technology in this remote place in the rainforest in southern Mexico, in the jungle. So since she was a girl, she started to love nature, of everything she saw, and since very young she started with this interest to protect and fight for conserving it.
También hay una parte que a veces me reconoce algunas comunidades, en caso de cuando ellos hacen trabajos comunales, la gente va y corta un arbolito, entonces dicen, hey, te va a regañar Filomena.
Thank you. I love that story. She's mentioning that she always, I mean, not from everyone, but she has recognition of the community, and she explains it through an anecdote or a story, that sometimes when people go out and do in the forest and maybe chop off trees that are not supposed to because they're important for the ecosystem, there's sort of a local saying that says, hey, don't do that because Filomena is going to tell you that it's wrong and pointed at. So she has created that sort of of local saying. Filomena is going to tell on you when you do things wrong. Super, Filomena, ¿algo más que quieras comentar o por ahora o estamos?
Sí, Mónica, algo más que pueda agregar es, pues, como nosotros como figuras como guardaparques o como vigilantes comunitarios, pues, que seamos una figura importante en la sociedad. Y para lo más importante ahora, en los tiempos que estamos, es cuidar nuestros ecosistemas y pues sanar la vida del planeta. Para que si el planeta está sano, también nosotros vamos a estar sanos.
Muchas gracias, Filomena. Okay, I just asked her if she wanted to say something else, and she mentions that it's very important the role of local rangers and local watchers, or the equivalent in every place where how they mention, but the local rangers. It's a very important role in the society because they are the ones that take care of the environment and our ecosystem services. So it's very important to strengthen them. Muchas gracias, Filo. Okay, so now we're going to finally our fourth panelist. Gracias, Filo. Luego volveremos a otra sesión de preguntas. We're going to our fourth panelist, Chris Galliers, that you know him. He is the current president of the IRF, the International Ranger Federation, and member of URSA. Chris has been deeply involved in the prevention of rhino poaching in South Africa since 2010. He's a member of the Game Rangers Association of Africa and has served as chairman for 2 terms. He's also a director from the Think Green Line Foundation and currently works for Our Conservation Outcomes, a nonprofit organization that works on new protected and conserved areas. Thank you, Chris. And what can you tell us from your perspective? How would you like to see rangers and rangers associations, organizations, to be seen in 5 years' time?
Thank you, Monica, and thanks to the other speakers. Really great to hear the on-the-ground experiences and how that sort of feeds up and relates to what I'm going to talk about, but also just in terms of the URSA action plan as well. So first of all, I'm just going to look at the ranger organizations to start with. So through the Chitwan Declaration, and now obviously we've got the URSA action plan, we believe we've got a really good understanding of where the challenges are facing rangers and what needs to be done. I think what goes hand in hand with that is what Chris mentioned, is the creation of strong partnerships and networks, and that's what URSA is about. So we really do need a strengthening of those partnership networks, cross-sectoral as well, as I mentioned in my presentation. So it's going to take a whole sort of spectrum of support partners to implement the URSA action plan. So that's definitely something that I'd like to see in 5 years, where we have a really strong partnership network that's working collaboratively in implementing the URSA action plan. Together with that are obviously ranger associations. We really need to look at strengthening the ranger associations, their effectiveness. How can we improve their effectiveness, strengthen their capacity as well, to be really beneficial conduits for support to rangers on the ground at a regional or a national, subnational level, yeah, just also to be a voice for rangers in their areas of influence. I'd also attached to that is obviously it's all good and well having the action plan, but we also need to measure it. We need to measure, are we implementing the URSA action plan with success? So that is important, to put those measures in place, that sort of monitoring and effectiveness system in place. And part of that is that we are in the process of developing the first ever State of the Ranger report. And that is looking at these measures. Are we making progress in terms of the URSA action plan? Are we improving the support to rangers, and obviously improving the ranger workforce? And then, yeah, just in terms of the rangers themselves, a lot of it has been touched on, and many of the speakers also in terms of what Kathy said right at the beginning. We need to recognize rangers. It's critical. We need to recognize rangers for the full value that they contribute to all life on Earth. And I think that's, the term that's being used as being planetary health professionals is really one where, rangers are comparable to other professions that are revered. Looking at the human health professionals, police services, etc. Rangers are right alongside them. So I think that's obviously a very important part. And emphasizing ranger and just the position of a ranger is not even recognized as a profession by the International Labour Organization, and that is definitely something that I'd like to see in 5 years' time. And yeah, finally, from an IRF perspective, I would like to see the IRF and member associations having increased as well. So we'd like to see more of them across the globe participating in support of rangers. And for rangers themselves, it's quite simple. We want to see them better supported. We want to see increased capacity. and a better, obviously supported and professional ranger force to ensure that they are motivated and effective in carrying out their required duties.
Thank you so much, Chris, for all the of everything you mentioned. And yeah, the recognition, of course, it's something to highlight. And yeah, everything to cover in the action plan is it's ambitious, but it should be done. So thank you for sharing. We're a bit late, running out of time. So we're going to do one round of questions, but we need to be a bit quick on the responses. So I'm sorry about that. I would like to spend hours chatting with you, but unfortunately, we have to leave them wanting more. So, so I'm going to start with Kathy. Have you this is one question for you, Kathy. Have you or your colleagues have faced any death threats? How do you address that in the reality? You can be a bit brief about this and maybe share.
Okay, thanks, Monica. So as I mentioned, unfortunately, internal corruption is a big problem. And I think it's not a problem that only Kruger is facing, where we have a lot of our field rangers being intimidated, their families being threatened when they are outside in the communities that they live. And this is all around trying to give information and trying to get involved. How we are addressing it is trying to ensure that there's support for rangers so that we have hotlines that they can call, that they can go to their managers and supervisors, and just equipping them and teaching them tools in how to deal with this. Providing incentives so that we give rangers an alternate to becoming involved in poaching because of the poor salaries and because of the lack of funding that we have. But mainly we're finding just by giving proper support structures to rangers and providing them with the opportunity and the right people that they can speak to, even if it isn't directly to us, just to be able to deal with these challenges. And I think more importantly, for them, their biggest concern is their families. While they might be in the park safe and working within Kruger National Park, their families are the ones that are getting threatened and that are getting death threats, who are outside in the communities. And this is very stressful for the rangers. But we are looking at different ways, and I see that this is also addressed in the action plan. Ranger well-being and incentives and rewards for rangers is something that everybody has spoken about. So it definitely is something that we all know is really important, and that probably needs a lot of more effort being put into it. Thank you.
Great, Kathy. Thank you for sharing with us. And yeah, safety and well-being is something that have been touched by all the panelists by different ways and angles. So, okay, I'm going to ask one question to Chris Galliers. Chris, how does URSA plan to approach individual countries and ranger associations to implement the action plan? Will this be country by country or through organizations like IUCN or IRF?
So firstly, at the moment, obviously, IRF is part of URSA. All the members of URSA are members of the IRF. So ideally, it will be through URSA, which is already in a set-up structure, but it can be done through any of the partners. And obviously, all our Ranger Association members, we as IRF, we want to work closely with them and then take those issues and be a voice within URSA to see how we can, through any of the partners that are members of URSA, to address any issues and also importantly carry out support to the associations. That'll happen at the different tiers that we've looked at, whether we're looking at a global level, regional level, or even down to a country by country basis, as the question asked. So yeah, I think there's lots of ways here, but I think it's also very important that, you know, anyone who joins URSA is going to be an IRF, needs to join up as an IRF member, and then you've got that conduit into URSA and delivering or contributing to the delivery of the action plan.
Thank you very much, Chris, for explaining this to the audience and all the rangers out there that are listening and are interested in being part of URSA and IRF. I'm going to ask a final question to both panelists, Atul and Filomena. You can respond from your perspective, each one of you. And it's always nice also to close with something encouraging and thinking of future generations. So I'm going to start with Atul and then Filomena and then Atul, sorry. How do you see the role of rangers play in encouraging the youth, kids, or future generation? What can you say to the ones that are listening out there? So maybe Filomena could share with us if she's ready.
Sí, sí, Mónica. Yo creo que la figura de un guardaparque dice mucho en cuestiones con los niños. En mi caso, en el área donde trabajo como vigilante comunitario y como guardaparque, los niños nos ven y se acercan. Ellos preguntan, ellos quieren saber, quieren plantar un arbolito, quieren saber de los animales, y pues eso es muy bueno, y pues con eso las nuevas generaciones sabemos que son niños, para que después tengamos un planeta, y también en nuestro continente, que es América, y pues en todo el mundo, tengamos personas conscientes en cuidar el medio ambiente.
Gracias, Philo. Okay, she's saying that she works a lot with kids in her community, and something she sees is that kids are very curious, and they get to her and always are asking questions, are very intrigued of how taking care of nature. So that's something good that we should take into account, because at the end of the day, they are the future for the planet. So we want these future generations to be conscious about the environment and nature we protect, and they are and take advantage of that. They are very intrigued of the ranger role and community ranger role. Gracias, Philo. Now, Atul, do you want to comment something quickly as well?
Yeah, I will say it quickly only, as I have taken more time. So as per the survey, we have just seen that more than 90% of rangers are proud of their work. So this is the thing, that every ranger, though we have so many challenges and all these things, but every ranger is proud of his work. So I think we should be a part of ranger, because as we have declared this 2020-21 as an ecosystem, eco restoration year and something. So all these works are done by rangers only. So ranger is gonna be a hot topic for this next 2023 or so many years, as we got a same platform, that from east to west and north to south, we are here on a same platform. So being a ranger, we can be a part of it. There are very few such services that we can get such a chance. So being a ranger, always a proud thing. And the most thing that when we do some employment generation activity, livelihood activity for local communities, the blessings we get is something which cannot be compared with anything. So being a ranger, I got blessing because of the government or some other things, but I I can offer them some livelihood or employment. So this can be a very good achievement for us. And as in India, we have largest tiger population in it. And so India have a pride for having a largest tiger population. So as a ranger, being part of frontline staff, I can have my own share for that tiger population. So I have pride that I am there for my country, for having some pride. So being a ranger, you can always have that much of capacity, because though we work on locally, we have a global impact. And this is the thing that a ranger always have proud. We are doing something at local, but we can have at global level, as like this also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atul, for bringing these motivational words. And thank you for all the panelists and all the audience that is listening, these testimonies of rangers that live different challenges, but they also share their passion in what they do. So get interested, ask about the rangers in your communities. And thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing, panelists, your experiences. Just as a final step, I'm going to pass the word to Linda Nunn, our Vice President at IRF, for the wrap up and end of this session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Monica, and all the panelists for this inspiring discussion. As Monica said, I'm currently Vice President of the International Ranger Federation. I've been a ranger for many, many years here in the UK, and I have to say I am so very pleased to see this action plan released today. So now we've reached the end of the webinar dedicated to the URSA action plan. I'm confident you will now have a better understanding of why the action plan is so very important and how URSA envisages to support rangers through its implementation. You can access the plan on the IRF website, internationalrangers.org, and also, of course, at the URSA website, ursa4rangers.org/resources, where you can also learn more about the Alliance, how you can support URSA in delivering the plan, and how to join URSA. Also to say that URSA will be participating in the World Conservation Congress taking place in Marseille, France in September this year, where we'll be promoting the Rangers cause. If you're interested in learning more, please contact the URSA Programme Manager. Finally, I'd like to extend my thanks to the hardworking team behind organising this webinar, IUCN WCPA Vital Sites for hosting it, all the excellent speakers, of course, and moreover, thanks to you all for joining us here today and learning more about the Universal Ranger Support Alliance's action plan. So to finish, please do take care, everyone. We hope to see you again at future webinars, and a warm goodbye to you for now.